Good morning. I'm Olivia Atieno, and you only have a few days left to register for the first on-location edition of Double O Direct. I want to meet you, right? I want to meet you next Saturday at the Movenpick Hotel and Residences in Westlands for the Digital Technology for Women in Business event. And it's free, and it's going to start with breakfast. Right? spicefm.co.ke. But joining me right now is Cris Njoki, the woman behind Ikojn. Ikojn Live on Instagram. And Ikojn is spelled Ikojn. I went through all kinds of things and I was thinking about how it's pronounced. I was going to say, I'm Olivia Atieno from Spice FM. Am I speaking to the person responsible for Cris? Why are you making me so confused?
Morning, Olivia. How are you?
Welcome to Spice FM.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm loving this outfit.
Yeah?
I'm loving your tiara.
Mm-hmm. I'm a queen, baby.
100%. It is excellent. Now, I just want to find out, for example, Ikojn. How did that word come about for you?
So when I was starting my brand, I really wanted a unique name, but also something that sort of reflected that the brand was mine without really being my name.
Yes.
So then I tried doodling a little bit. And when I wrote down my second name, which is Njoki, I sort of like tried turning it upside down, trying to rearrange the letters. And when I actually spelled my name Njoki backwards, it read out Ikojn. And so then I just made the J silent and there we have it.
Incredible. And when was that?
That was, I would say, 6 or 7 years ago, just before I started my brand. So the brand has been around for about 6.5 years.
Yes.
So that was literally 7 years ago, I think.
That is absolutely incredible. So tell me about your journey up until the moment you had the brand Ikojn live on Instagram.
Okay, so I would say like my journey was a bit different because initially, just as a child, I don't know if it happens to everybody, but for me, even in school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do, you know, with my life. And at that time, I remember I just finished high school. I really wasn't sure. And I got into business school and it was terrible. It was boring. I was whack at it. It was really bad. I used to miss all my lessons.
Yes.
And so I really talked to my dad about that and I was struggling. And he said, well, I bought you a sewing machine when you were 13. You're always like ripping clothes apart. Why don't you try and do tailoring? At that time, it was tailoring. And somehow I found a school that I liked, ended up moving to another school, which I liked even more. And then, after school, I graduated. I started the fashion that I really enjoyed and I graduated. I started a thrifting business because at the time I wasn't really confident in my own brand. So I had a thrifting business, which I actually did for 1.5 years. Very successful, I must say. And that's why I was able to save the capital I needed to start my brand.
Wait a minute. You went to business school.
Yes.
You hated business school.
Yes.
But you have a successful business.
Look at us.
I'm listening to, I'm thinking, what is happening?
I know,
everything
right?
you did is stuff that you'd learned in business school.
Yeah.
How to raise capital, how to establish a business.
Yeah.
Okay. How to make your passion work for you commercially.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm doing.
Yeah. Go you.
I'm telling you. So tell me, okay, so how was the transition from your thrifting business to Ikojn?
So I think for me, the transition was pretty simple, just because I knew I wanted a brand at the end of the day. The only reason I went into thrifting was number one, to like create money easily and like come up with money really quick. And also because I think at the time I was still a bit scared. I was like, I wasn't very confident if people would like my designs, and sometimes being in the creative industry, your creations are really close to you. It's like you. So if somebody says something bad about what you create, it's like they're saying you're
personal.
bad. Yeah, it's very personal.
Hate you.
And I was like, I don't know if I'm ready for that. So I think getting into thrifting really taught me a lot of things, and it also taught me how to create content for myself and for my brand, which I really appreciate. So the transition wasn't too bad. I just had to like learn to tell people it's not thrift. Now it's made in Kenya. I did it myself. So yeah, but it was pretty good.
Just to step back into thrifting, what was that process like? What would you actually do on a regular basis?
So the thrifting, that time when I was doing the thrifting business, it was actually one of my like most intense and most like alive moments in my life.
You have to wake up at 5 a.m., go to the market by 6.
I literally used to wake up at 4 in the morning and be in the market before dawn, like before the sun comes out.
And the bales arrive.
Yes. So I'm there in the dark with my torch of my phone and then rummaging through. I have this knack of like really being able to find good things in like rubbish, you know,
yes,
type of
yes,
thing.
yes.
And it translates even now when I'm shopping because I'm still the one who shops for each fabric in the Ikojn brand. And I haven't been able to allocate that to anybody else because I do have a knack of like finding like the best things within the rubble.
So when you talk about fabric, for example, the dresses we're wearing, do they have a name?
Yes, they do. So the one you're wearing is a wrap dress.
Yes.
The exact name is the Rosetta wrap dress. And you
Yes.
can see it has the little
Yes,
roses on
I
it.
love it. Absolutely
Mine,
love it.
yeah. And mine is it's still a wrap dress, but you can see the design is slightly different because of the sleeve. And this is the daisy wrap dress.
So what is the process of fabric select? Because the design is almost similar.
Yes.
Apart from the sleeves.
Yes.
What is the process of selecting fabric for specific designs actually like?
So what happens is for us, even for the brand, I do a lot of designing for the brand and we try and go by collections.
Yes.
But for me as a creative, I'm really inspired by fabric. So sometimes you'd find other people would do the designing first and then find the fabric. For me,
Yes.
it's the other way around.
Yes.
I will know what I have roughly in my head, what I want to create.
Yes.
Go out, get the fabric, and then come in and create the collection.
Okay.
So really for me, I love being in this space where I go to my suppliers. I see all of the different fabrics they have laid out. Some of them send me like books with samples and swatches. And that process of going through each of them, touching, feeling, try and figuring out like, you know, the movement of each piece, that for me really does inspire me in the creation process.
So is it fabric specifically that has the biggest impact on the cost of the garment? Or what is the process? How do you cost your clothes?
So in the costing, there's many things that come into it. Of course, there's the fabric, which is the raw materials. And then another big cost is the production, right? So for us, we are very proud to have the Ikojn brand produced and made in Kenya.
Yes.
So everything from fabric acquiring and production and everything is done in here. And the production is a big, big part for us as well because 90% of our Ikojn staff are women. And we really try and plug in and find women who have that interest in fashion, who maybe are not able to get the skills or learn the skills any other way. We bring them in and they can learn from us and then in turn work for the brand and continue to produce locally for Made in Kenya.
Now I'm continuing our conversation. Cris Njoki, Ikojn Live on Instagram. You know, there's a pop-up store, an actual physical store at the Westgate Mall in Westlands, right, Christine?
Yes, there is. Westgate, first floor at the pop-up market. We're in there. We actually started that store just after COVID. And it's because a lot of our customers really want, as much as we're e-commerce, they really wanted a spot where they could come in, fit, you know, feel the fabric, see how it moves. And that's why that place is there.
How difficult is it to have a physical space?
Okay, it's not difficult. There is a lot of paperwork that goes into it. What I would say is even before we got the pop-up market, because that's a permanent location, even before that, we were part of a lot of like other pop-ups. But the thing with the other pop-ups, you come in with other different designers, it gives more flexibility. So then you don't have to pay as much and it's not permanent. You just come in on a monthly basis or every 3 months and you're able to sort of like experience different locations and see where you most fitted with your consumer.
Yes.
You know, so for us, we had one in Village Market, we did Westgate even before, and we did Karen. We did a bunch of different locations before actually narrowing down to Westgate Mall.
And how did you make that decision? Why Westgate?
I think for us, it was very central and we liked the space. It was very easy for our customers to find us. We didn't have to explain too much.
Okay.
We didn't want a location where we're saying, okay, you need to turn right and then go ahead. There's a black gate. We're like, no.
Yes.
We just wanted somewhere that people really knew. And we just really liked management. The management was really easy to work with.
Yes.
And it was sort of like a no-brainer. So,
do you have a legal advisor or a financial advisor for your brand Ikojn?
Yes, we definitely do. We have both actually. So we
Yes.
have legal representation and we had to change our financial representation, but
Yes.
we do have some people who help us with that because girls are powerful, but we can't do everything. So
True. Let's say. Oh, so how did you come about the fact and knowing that this is really important? Because a lot of the women in fashion that I've interviewed, they're like a one-woman shop. Or
Right.
a one-woman deal.
Right.
At what point did you say, okay, Dad, I am not going to go to business school.
Right.
I actually love sewing. I love tailoring. Then you're like, oh, this is going to be a business. I've moved on from thrifting. Was it at that moment when you moved from thrifting into developing Ikojn, or did it take you a lot longer?
It took a while. I mean, I've been a one-woman shop for as long as I can remember, and coming in from thrifting, I feel like that is the center of just like do it yourself, DIY.
Yes.
And getting into my brand, and I've always believed that just generally in my life is like, if I want to get something done,
Yes.
I'll do it myself first.
Okay.
And I'll do that even with anybody else I'm bringing into the brand in terms of staff. And that's what I did for a long time. But then slowly along the way, I found myself allocating. And there's still a lot of things that I still do myself right now.
Yes.
But a lot more now has been taken up by other members of staff at Ikojn.
So tell me about the team.
So our team, like I told you before, is 90% women.
Yes.
It's nice. It's nice. I've had to really struggle because for a long time they felt like my family, and I would take them out on trips and I would do all these like cute things you do for your family.
Yes.
But then we experienced a bit of an uncomfortable one last year when one of our members left us.
Okay.
And it was sort of like not on the best terms. So then we had to involve legal and everything like that. And I think at that point I had to make the tough decision to say, okay, look, it's not your family. This is your team. You grow together, but you can't really be too nice to them. And you can't
You have to stay professional.
You have to stay professional. And that's sort of like what I had to do. It's still good. And I think I'm still the best boss, I think, if you ask them. But it's a lot more now like set, like it's set on paper. It's not very, before it was very no, it's fine,
ad
you
hoc.
want to take a day off, it's fine.
Yeah.
Now it's a lot more professional.
So tell me about the actual people who work there. Do you have HR? Do you have finance? Do you have sales? Do you have social media?
So the thing with having, I would say, a small business is some of these roles are not set in stone, right? So you find someone comes in, yes, as, say, a community manager, but then they come in and they have to take up other responsibilities.
Okay.
So even in hiring, I am sure to tell the people who join us is like, yes, you're joining for this, but just be open because your role could adjust depending on the needs. So even you'd find HR and finance are sort of the same person.
Okay.
And then you find someone else handling a couple more roles. So it's very flexible, but I love my team because they're also open, and they all have the same vision as I do, which is growing the brand.
Do you have any casuals? Do you have people who you call on a project by project basis?
Not really, unless it has things to do with like tech. With the tech, sometimes we will bring in some professionals. When it comes to e-commerce, there's some things that our tech team is not able to handle, then they'll bring in some people to help. But with the core team, I think it's very like permanent, solid.
Who in the industry do you look up to or do you work with?
Okay, so that was actually a tough one for me. In fact, I'm glad you brought it up because after I finished fashion school, I knew what I wanted my brand to become. I knew I wanted to get into a ready-to-wear brand that was, sustainable and slow, but then still being able to meet needs. And at that time, there was no one in the industry, at least in Kenya, who was doing what I wanted to do. So it was really tough for me to find somebody. And that's all I remember that all I wanted was to get a mentor. I just needed someone to like help me navigate, hold my hand, but there was no one doing it. At that time, many people were doing custom made and very, very premium, very expensive.
Yes, luxury,
and that's not what I wanted. I wanted affordable. I wanted ready to wear, off the rack,
Yeah.
And I just had to do it myself, sort of. I'm a YouTube baby. I basically learned so much from YouTube. There was a lot of trial and error.
Yes.
And I think that's why for me sometimes, even when I do the small videos on Instagram, just like showing people, or even on YouTube, I do a segment on my YouTube channel, Cris Njoki, where I just talk to young entrepreneurs who are looking to start. It doesn't have to be fashion, but who are looking to start businesses. I didn't have that when I started.
Yes.
And I think the reason it took me so long was because I was trying so many things. Some were failing, some were okay.
Yes.
But I would want to be at least that person who's guiding someone who's looking to get into into that space. And I think that's why even in my Instagram, if you checked it out, it's Millennial Coach. For me, it's like, I want to be the one coaching. If you don't have one, just come. If you don't have a mentor, just come on and I can teach you something.
I absolutely, positively love that.
Yeah.
So what lies ahead for Ikojn?
So for us, I think we really want to take e-commerce by storm, right? And a lot of the queries I get, or a lot of other designers in my space, when they look at what we produce, they say, oh, you should go and sell in the US, or you should target like outside the continent. And I'm like, no. We are not even supplied enough in Africa, not even in Kenya. I feel like there are not enough brands in the country who are giving the people what they want, and we want to be that brand. So we want to really grow our e-commerce, make it a one-stop shop in Kenya, move on to the east of Africa, move on to the whole of Africa, and just really be that fashion brand that people can actually shop to in Africa and get your products on time, and you're able to order online, like securely, safely, trust that what you're ordering is what you're receiving. So
I love it. And I love the fact that e-commerce is big for you, because next week at the Junction, I'm hosting Double O Direct live on location. I've said the Junction because that's where I'm going today to watch Tis the Season. But it's going to be at the Movenpick Hotel and Residences. And it's an event for women in business on how they can use digital technology to upscale.
Perfect.
Whether they want to go more into e-commerce, whether they want to increase market share, profits, everything to do with digital technology. I have a number of experts. You're coming, right?
Yay! Yes, I'll come, of course.
So for 2 weeks, I'll be dressed by Ikojn. So now, finally, let people know how they can reach you so that we can help increase those sales.
Great. So I think the easiest way to reach us, guys, is on Instagram. Our page is Ikojn Live. Remember, Ikojn, the J is silent and it's Njoki backwards. And on Ikojn, you'll be able to see all of our new releases, and you'll be able to contact us as well through our phone number, and our email is on there. Everything is on